The trick to doing a unit circle is to not have to think about it. And the way you don't think about it is for you to do it quickly. And the way you learn how to do it quickly is through practice. And what I'm going to do is show you how you break it apart in smaller pieces and work on that. Let's begin with the actual stuff with the radians, because that seems to be the hardest part. We know that the perimeter of a circle, the circumference, is equal to 2 pi r. And furthermore, we know, or for our purposes, we're using a radius of 1 for the circle. Therefore, we can sort of ignore this r. So that means the distance around is 2 pi. But more importantly, the distance from here halfway around to 180 is pi. And we're going to use that to our advantage. So now let's take a look at the actual circle. We're not just looking at one circle, we're really looking at two. Notice I broke them apart. This one has 8 pieces and this one has 12. Let's take a look at the one that has 8 pieces first. Notice that, remember, from 0 to 180 degrees is pi units. There's a total of 4 slices. That means each distance from this part of the crust to here is pi over 4. That means this is also pi over 4 distance, and so on all the way around. I'm going to do this. Okay, now let's just number them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. If we can reduce, let's reduce it. This is already reduced, so I'll circle that. This can be reduced to pi over 2. This is already reduced. This is already reduced, and so is this. This just becomes pi. And this thing becomes 3 pi over 2. And this becomes 2 pi. And so that's what we have. So if I take my circle chart, I can just plug these values in. While I'm at it, let me just go ahead and put in my degrees. Since these are all 45 degrees apart, all you have to do is keep adding 45 to the previous number, and you're going to come all the way around. Now let's take a look at the second one. This one actually has 12 slices, but 6 slices between 0 and pi. So once again, I'm going to drag these guys out here to 20 places. And once again, since I have 6 slices between 0 and pi, let's just number them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. Once again, reduce if we can. This is reduced. That's reduced. There's this one and that one. This one can reduce to pi over 3. This, of course, is pi over 2. This is 2/3 pi, 2 pi over 3. This is simply pi. This one here is going to be 4 pi over 3, 3 pi over 2, 5 pi over 3, and once again back to 2 pi. If we put it into the big picture, there we go. And of course, once again, these are all 30 degrees apart. We can put in the angle measures as well. And there you go. Okay, remember I said that the radius is equal to 1? Let's now look at our coordinates. So, coming back here, my first coordinate over here, if I look at this one, is going to be a radius of 1, so my coordinate is going to be 1 comma 0. And if I go off in this direction, it will be negative 1 comma 0. This one up top will be 0 comma 1, and down below would be 0 comma negative 1. Okay? If we look at this thing, this is really using a triangle, if you will, where the radius is also the hypotenuse. And when we looked at these kind of triangles, this one was the hypotenuse, this was the adjacent side, there was the opposite, there was my angle. And so that means the cosine was equal to the adjacent over the hypotenuse, and the sine was equal to the opposite over the hypotenuse. The cosine, therefore, is our x-coordinate, and the sine is going to be our y-coordinate. We always say sine and then cosine, but in this case, we really should be saying cosine and sine. I like patterns. This is a pattern I discovered. So if I look at this thing, I see the square root of 0 over 2, square root of 1 over 2, and so on and so forth. And then all I have to do is just simplify it. So this just becomes 0. This becomes 1/2. This stays square root of 2 over 2, square root of 3 over 2, and finally 1. The cosine, remember, it started at 1, 0, at 0 degrees, and at 90 degrees it becomes 0 comma 1, which means these numbers go in reverse. So square root of 3 over 2, square root of 2 over 2, 1/2. Putting it in the big picture, we have this. Now, one thing you might want to remember is that since this is the first quadrant, both of your values are going to be positive. In your second quadrant, your first unit is negative and the second unit is positive. Here, both are negative, then positive, negative. This might help you with figuring all this stuff out. Let's take a look at the whole page. So, the 1 goes to square root of 3 over 2, square root of 2 over 2, 1/2, 0, and then these are actually reflected. So 1/2 and 1/2 only here in the second quadrant is negative. Here it stays negative and then back to positive. So in the end, there's your entire thing. I hope it helps.